They operate in the gray.
Show me what you got.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Guy Ritchie's next film, In the Gray, starring Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Eiza González. Now, in this film, we follow a covert team of operatives led by a lawyer who's played by Eiza González and her two elite mercenaries who are played by Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal as they attempt to steal back $1 billion from a ruthless tycoon, leading to an elaborate heist and all-out war. Now, I feel like this film is very funny for me when it comes to movie reviews because usually I don't look up anything, but I decided to make a script for this one because there's a lot of information I wanted to talk about. And I did not know, until I was looking up information to make sure I had it correct as far as plot and all this other stuff goes, that this has a negative rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, just like most films, I think that this is only funny because I happened to talk to my friend yesterday who almost saw this film on Friday, and he actually said, you know, Guy Ritchie films are very hit or miss for him. And I feel like that's what critics and audiences are saying with this movie as well. And I've heard a lot of that recently when it comes to online stuff, especially like with some of his shows and stuff like that. But I feel like outside of, for me, one or two of his films, thinking maybe it's a fine 6 or a, you know, maybe a 5 or something like that, I don't really dislike any of his stuff. So before we get into the review, I just wanted to throw that out there that I do like this movie. But on top of that, I don't think any of his stuff's hit or miss. I love Guy Ritchie. So I love new Guy Ritchie, old Guy Ritchie. So anyways, let's get into it. So for starters, the main character here is Eiza González, who plays the main lawyer here named Rachel. And Rachel is this high-profile attorney who operates in the gray. So she has two elite mercenaries, Jake Gyllenhaal and Henry Cavill, who play Bronco and Sid. They are these covert operative mercenaries who basically go get stuff done for her. So for example, in this film, when she wants to take money from the main bad guy, Manny Salazar, she gets his assets frozen, ends up having a sabotage happen to all of his rigs and stuff like that, where he makes millions of dollars a day and makes it where he's losing $500,000 a day. And she does all this so she can make a deal with him to get the $1 billion back, which is exactly what he owes back because he borrowed this from Rosamund Pike's character, who works for this big corporation that loans out millions and billions of dollars to criminals and stuff like that. So, what I really like about this film is that it feels like a Guy Ritchie is trying to evolve here. One thing that I feel like is that this doesn't feel as fast and comedic as like a Gentleman or Snatch or Lock, Stock. This definitely feels more restrained in his work, and I have been feeling that a little bit lately, especially with his shows. What I really like recently, like Mobland, and even more recently, the Young Sherlock show. That one is definitely more comedic though. But still, it feels like he's definitely evolved as a filmmaker, and it definitely feels a little bit different to his older stuff. It feels like he's merging into that stylish, dialogue-heavy filmmaking with a more grounded approach to espionage filmmaking, and it's definitely not action-heavy until really the end of this film. And the first and second act are all about that preparation for going onto this island and getting off of this island when they need to. And it's very Ocean's in that way. It feels more like a heist, even though the guy owes the money. And it almost feels like we kind of have to steal this money, and I really, really like that part of the film. Also really like the chemistry between all the leads in this film. Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal have a whole lot of charisma, I feel like, together. I really don't want to bash Henry Cavill here. I do love Henry Cavill, but I feel like he's definitely the weaker of the two, and I think that's kind of unfortunate here. Jake Gyllenhaal has some really funny lines. He also has a lot more to do, especially early on in the film, where he has that meeting with Eiza González that you see from the trailer, and they have like a whole lot of funny dialogue. You see where he tells that guy, he's like, "Oh, do you want that? You want to be splattered on the floor?" And I think that whole like back and forth dialogue is very Guy Ritchie, very fun. But Henry Cavill's not there at all during that scene, and he's also very quiet in this movie. He's the one always kind of driving, helping the plan and stuff like that. But Jake Gyllenhaal's more of like that kind of lead, if you would. Like he's the one giving the list, talking about what we have to do, where we have to go. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill's just kind of, I feel like, there in this movie, and that's very unfortunate. Now, what I really, really enjoyed about this movie is that Eiza González is definitely the emotional center and lead here. I had no idea going into this movie, especially with them trying to throw out the big leads of Jake Gyllenhaal and Henry Cavill, that she was indeed the main character. I feel like people expected Cavill and Gyllenhaal to dominate this movie, but it seems like she surprisingly grounds the story, and I feel like she's definitely the toughest one in this. She's the one getting the legal stuff done. They're the ones working for her, and I actually really like that because it feels very Guy Ritchie-esque in that, especially her dialogue, the way she talks, the way she gets stuff done. And I really like their dynamic with each other. They feel very protective over her, very much like a brother-sister relationship because she saved them before in the past. I also like that her character does indeed work in the gray again. And she works, you know, between morality and survival, and while she's the planner and the others are using blunt force and weapons and stuff, she's the one getting stuff done in the gray. It also feels like the film works really well when it focuses on relationships instead of the larger conspiracy plot of getting this money back. I do think the villain and all that stuff is kind of weak, especially his enforcer guy that's kind of like his, you know, kind of the big bad, I guess you would, that they have to fight. And I feel like when you get the characters doing stuff like that together, like having these fun little moments, these gotcha moments, especially towards the end of the film, it feels more Guy Ritchie-esque, and that's what I really liked about this film. The way the movie ends, kind of ends in like a oh gotcha, funny twist way that's very Guy Ritchie type of humor and vibe. When certain scenes happen like that, it definitely sticks out. Now, I feel like the main criticism I've been hearing is that it's kind of style versus substance debate, and I feel like that with a lot of Guy Ritchie stuff. For me, I will just say this. I think the movie is visually slick. I think the dialogue is stylish as always, and the action scenes are pretty tense. There are no hand-to-hand combat action in this, which is kind of funny because there's so many times you think it's going to happen. There's a lot of close quarter stuff, but every single time the characters use guns, especially with Henry Cavill being a big presence, I just kind of expected a punch to be thrown. It's literally just shooting. It's guns, guns, guns. But with that being the case, I would definitely say the pacing definitely drags in the middle, especially when we get to that plotting and planning stuff of the preparation of getting on this island and leaving the island. They spend like, I feel like an extra 10 or 15 minutes to get some stuff done here. And I feel like they could have showed you a montage or two, which they also do. So you get all that plus a montage, plus this and that. And ironically, it kind of weirdly works both ways because you do feel like you're there with them planning all this stuff. I just feel like we really slow down the movie a lot because you're really just waiting for this meeting to happen and all this stuff to get down. But I feel like a lot of the emotional arcs in this film also don't land in pure Guy Ritchie fashion. This is a movie that ends and then has like another act to it. The only thing I can think of is like a video game like Red Dead Redemption 2, where you have that ending, but then you have like the John Marston, you know, you're building a ranch, you're playing, but like that's an epilogue. And a movie that feels weird when that happens because it feels like it's a secondary plot. And that's what happens here. This movie literally, everything's done, everything's over, and then it goes, wait a minute, here we go, extra 20 minutes. And it's basically this whole extra plot that's actually 3 months later, which is so funny because it pops, it was like 3 months later. I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And it is literally an extra, you know, feels like a second act. Now, I do think that the title In the Gray is very impactful, at least as far as the creative process goes, because it is morally ambiguous. There's a lot of blurred ethics in this movie. Like I said, the governments are corrupt in this, the bad guys corrupt, and technically even our main characters really are. Violence becomes transactional. Everybody operates in these gray zones. And as we see, Guy Ritchie really loves movies about extremely competent people doing dangerous jobs. Like I said, it's going to be hit or miss for you if you like films that, you know, have a lot of planning, logistics, tactics, negotiations like Wrath of Man, Operation Fortune Covenant. You'll like it. But if you know, don't, I don't know if that's for you. I feel like the half with, you know, the fun of a Guy Ritchie film is watching these highly skilled people execute plans. But a lot of that, like I said, is kind of a slog in this as far as watching a lot of that stuff happen. Now, it does have I feel like a payoff when it comes down to the third act, now that the plan is finally in motion on this island. While I don't think that I, you know, love In the Gray or think it's his most energetic film ever, I do think that this is him at his most mature when it comes to Guy Ritchie movies. I think this is a fun film. If you're like me, you like most of his projects, but if you're definitely like my friend or most critics, it seems like, and you're very hit or miss on shows like Mobland and even recent films like Wrath of Man and stuff like that, I don't know if this is going to be for you. But with that, that's all I have to talk about In the Gray. I really still enjoyed it, even though I don't think it's one of his strongest films. I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I think this is pretty good. But I think that's all it is. I don't think it does anything outstanding or anything going above and beyond, especially like when it comes to some of the pacing and stuff like that, which I definitely think drags it down. But I think the action scenes are pretty good. I think there's definitely some high-key moments in this movie that I feel like I'll remember. But yeah, with that, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this movie. If you've seen it, if you want to see it, this review make you want to go out there and see it. Like I said, very hit or miss. If you're hit or miss on him, I would not go out there. But if you're like me, you like all this stuff, you'll enjoy it. And so with that, I want to thank my Patreon producers for supporting the channel. Thank you guys so much for doing all that you do. And if you want to be like them, you can hit the YouTube join button where you'll get movie vlogs, you'll get extra stuff like that. And you can also hit the Patreon and head right over there directly. You'll get, like I said, both videos at the same time. You'll get video game reviews, spoiler reviews, like Obsession. Hopefully I'm going to be doing one tonight. And extra content like that. So if you enjoy this review, you want to do that, cool. If not, you want all the free videos like this, hey, totally understandable. Like, subscribe. You'll get the videos in your inbox. We should have a lot of videos actually this week. A lot of stuff comes out, a lot of shows in, like The Boys and Fire Country, Sheriff Country, all the countries. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Tick every box.
Tick every tuck.
Lube every wheel.
Lick every step.
3, 2, 1.